Metal, 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 metal. I need a new intro.
Yeah, what the hell was that?
I don't know, but I know what the review is. Deafheaven-Lonely people with power. Gotta take it easy. Gotta take it easy. Gotta take it easy. I'm not singing the Eagles. Hello one, hello all. It's the gothiest ghost of them all, Casper in the flesh, wishing you the best. And it's time for a review of Deafheaven-Lonely people with power. Deafheaven is a West Coast black gaze, black metal band, and this is their 6th album, but their first album recorded on the legendary Roadrunner Records, and Lonely People with Power is the album. And also, it's been a decade since I've thoroughly enjoyed and loved a Deafheaven album, because Sunbather was just an excellently produced record. It was stylistically creative, impactful, and yes, you had your hellish tremolo pick guitars, your rasped vocals, your blast beats, but also had the incorporation of post-rock as well. And compositionally, it was great, with sequentially a fantastic flow. It was just a harrowing, blissful beauty. Unfortunately though, I found myself very underwhelmed with projects to follow up after Sunbather, putting out some of the most tepid, bland, unimaginative metal they could possibly put out. And on Sargent House, where they just packed it up completely with metal, putting out a post-rock shoegaze record that was just blander than bland, bored me to tears. It was just the biggest shoegaze dream pop dud they could possibly drop. But now I feel with American bands really showing out now, really stepping up. I mean, it's been a while. I mean, they definitely killed it in the 2010s, and I feel like it's getting more and more inventive as we go on with these decades. Like with these American metal bands in particular, there is like this renaissance going on with bands like Liturgy, Knock Loose, Crowless, Blood Incantation, Severus, and the amazing avant-garde metal album Gold Star by Imperial Triumphant. Check that out. Like, these bands are really expanding in the genre, and I don't know if somebody lit a fire under their ass or what's going on, but I am immensely satisfied with the results of this record. Now, we're just critics, we're just people with opinions, we're just music lovers. Well, most of us. There are some big corporations that don't really care for music, they're just in it for the profit, but we're not gonna get into that. But what I'm saying is, maybe they weren't satisfied with their last record and they wanted to just go back to form, go back to their roots, because they certainly did that here. Because honestly, with dud after dud after dud, I was just about to check the fuck out when it came to Deafheaven. But then I heard the teasers on this thing, and then I listened to the record again and again and again. And I'm like, okay, these guys are operating with familiar tools, but these tools have been sharpened and they've added more tools on the operating table here. And with these tools, they're using different techniques and honestly operating in different departments. Also, with their metal certification being in question from the first day they hit the scene, I honestly do think this is best for them to return back to form, back to metal, because after Sunbather, we barely got any metal records after that. Sure, you could pin the metal label on there, but it was mostly rock with wretched vocals, honestly. Very drab, boring, unimaginative rock. But honestly, there's no question that they are a black metal band, like they are a metal band. And honestly, I would say Lonely People with Power is actually a contender with Sunbather. Maybe not as great as Sunbather, but definitely up there. This is definitely one of the best releases of the year, and definitely their best in years. And definitely a very adventurous project, as they're dishing out more with black metal here. My only fear here is that The listener has probably had their fill and has probably checked out on Sunbather, but I implore you to please check this record out. Like, let the past be the past and just take hold of this fiery, intense rager. Because I feel with the punch they bring, the raginess, with the vocals, thickness of the riffs, and blast beats, the tremolos, oh, the tremolos. They are more black metal than they've ever sounded, honestly. And I'm not talking about from a mixing standpoint, because don't forget, this is a black gaze band. So it's not going to be lo-fi, it's not going to sound like it was recorded in the coldest, harshest, violent ice storm known to man, but I would say the characteristics, the techniques, the traditions are definitely there. They're throwing post-rock in there, a little bit of shoegaze, but the culmination is immaculate. Also, there is a theme of poignancy here that I do not want to brush over. Like, for those who culminate power or want to, they are normally the melancholic types, they are normally the miserable types, the forlorn types, and they use that power, or the yearning for power, to compensate for that loneliness that you will see on this record that a lot of people hide, can't really express, living through different experiences, and with these experiences having different viewpoints, and they need these certain topics, they need these certain instances, they need this lust to like fill a void. But they're telling you this in a way that doesn't sound overly sentimental. It doesn't sound too overly preachy or over the top. I would say that this is kind of the black metal version of like Gordy Greep's The New Sound. I mean, granted, completely different genres here, but I would say it kind of goes more in that direction, except less comedic. But in various ways, these experiences conjure up different perspectives, and you're getting different perspectives here. And also, given the title, there is definitely a lot of toxicity here, like being numb to intimacy and then using others and manipulating them so you could like fill that void of loneliness. Like, just keep on lying to yourself, keep on like gaslighting people, like on Heathen. Or the song Revelator, which really does drive home the narrative here, with the continuous self-loathing, and with that loathing, you're casting it off to people around you, making them suffer because you're too chicken shit to show how hurt you are, how much self-loathing you have. But also having this deceptive demeanor around it, driving it back to the title, Lonely People with Power. And they're really taking their influences this time around and shaping them into this colossal monster, this hellish monster. And again, able to work in the softer bits without diminishing the vigor and vehemence of anguish and torment that this album has to offer. Also, in terms of composition, they've really got their strength back here. Like, it's one thing to change up, sure, but if you don't have the alterations, the transition game, and make those powerful as you're going through phase after phase or change after change, it means nothing. And on this, I think they've recognized that and they've absolutely nailed it. Like on Doberman, like with the alterations, the transitions, the builds, and then for the bridge to come in, and as soon as it does, it really makes you feel like you've just entered into the hell that this character is experiencing on this track. Which is an over 6-minute harrowing monologue, with these sweltering walls of tremolos side by side with these discordant chords. And you could also pick up on the crescendos that are very post-rocky and over these thunderous, hellish blast beats. And I say that to say they have really packed down the merger of post-rock and black metal. There's even a distant ambient break on the bridge that goes straight into Aphex Twin territory. How celestial the keys sound, it really does fit the narrative that is spoken on here, with the lyrics depicting someone who is living in regret, realizes the vast mistakes they made with their pain internal, and it really does go into very fatal, concerning territory. And with the bliss added, the atmospheric turns, the explosive moments, it really feels like a gorgeous, tortured, outer-body experience. And as far as track length goes, if you're familiar with these guys, you know they're no stranger to the long cuts. They're no stranger to the epics. You should know that they have tracks that reach past the 10-minute mark. But on here, they keep it over 8 minutes on the song Amethyst. Most that push past the 5-minute mark are a handful of tracks here. And as far as the flow of this LP, Deafheaven definitely does an excellent job of keeping this thing like a journey. Sequential and incorporating these themes of reoccurring segments. And as I spoke on before, you certainly have the epics, and this is one of those tracks that goes above the 7-minute mark. And the second half has these heavenly choral vocals just floating in the background over this roaring instrumentation. And then right when you think it's about to bring you to bliss, it just brings you straight back to chaos, straight back to intensity. But again, the choir creates such a beautiful addition to such a hellish track. And another long song here, Revelator, with crunchy guitar grooves, blaring dissonant chord freakouts, and do a great series of break grooves occasionally into the track. But after each one, we get these sonic changes, sonic variations, with the exception of the last piece where you get these curious strums, winding drones, and right when you think you're at peace, you get this absolutely frightening jump scare. It's like right when you think the menacing demon from like this movie is dead and you see the character walk up to it, poke it with a stick, and it's like, okay, it's harmless now. But then it just turns to you with these glowing red eyes and just opens up a portal and just drags you down to the deepest facets of hell. And the song Amethyst, which has this spoken word passage, desolate guitar intro, sad pianos, post-rock like guitar lines. I did find the passages here to be kind of a bore, especially with the spoken word passage. Like, I don't really think they brought any new additions here. In fact, I think they actually end up repeating themselves. But as far as the shorter cuts here, by Deafheaven standards, they're incredible. So while you are getting these savage revving guitars, retched vocals, sinister riffs, rapid drum fills, the lyrics are definitely way darker here, as in dealing with loss of someone who's passed, as the lyrics in grieving over someone's loss, but also simultaneously reflecting on or having thoughts of a self-inflicted demise. And this is a great example of a contrast, how something can be like so melancholy, so lyrically morbid, but also a head bobber too. Because with the chugging riffs and the arpeggios, you would think this is like a satanic banger. But given how mournful and sorrowful, if you're paying attention, the leads could be, it makes absolute sense. Also with how heavy and tormented these tracks could be, but with additions of harmony, but still having the heavy distorted chords, the elemental textures, no one should question, especially with other attributes as well. No one should question that they've returned to their black metal roots. They absolutely have. And I would say, again, with addition to post-rock, they're doing these styles, these mergers, but they're not being derivative this time. Like, you could say they were wearing their influences on their sleeve on Sunbather, but they did it tastefully. But now, even more so, I would say they're doing a merger of their influences more tastefully, more creatively this time around. Like on Heathen, that starts with these vastly bizarre vocal harmonies, then goes into this very eerie set of guitar lines. The whole thing sounds very Maruha, while simultaneously incorporating these cleans that I've had my reservations on in the past, but they're done really well here. They sound ghostly, they sound very ethereal, but they work and they're not overdone either. And the dreaminess, the ethereal portions, it all comes together beautifully. And like I said before, where you get like these fiery progressions, these progressions are very subtle in change. And then you get this fiery crescendo. The whole thing operates on, you think you're gonna get this repetition, but no, you just get this very steady progression. But the progression is very slow, it's very subtle. And while this thing has a lot of distressed and blistering moments, the hooks here, like the guitar melodies here, are vastly catchy. And the ending of this track just sounds like it's spiraling into distorted madness. And the track Garden Route, which is another favorite of mine, is certainly another moment where Deafheaven shows they still have their strength in building a track in their builds. But each crescendo is more colossal and pained than the last. It takes you on these blippy passages, but then ends with these powerful tremolos, these wailing guitar solos. And the end is so gorgeous to me. It's just monstrous, but simultaneously awe-inspiring. Now, as much as I love the record Sunbather, unfortunately I can never get satisfaction with the closer, and unfortunately with this one, I don't really think it ends that strong either. Like, I just found the vocals to be way too washed out, and these washed out vocals appear on this track a lot. But I will say though, it does have its very massive and epic dynamics instrumentally. So while it's not a perfect closer, it could have gone over a lot worse. In fact, I would say it's better than any closer they've had in years. And overall, I have to admit, I did not see this album being as great as it turned out to be. It's honestly the most engaging and powerful record they've put out in a while. I wouldn't say it's better than Sunbather, but it comes very close. This is like one of the most darkest, harrowing, fiery, beautiful, gorgeous, haunting, but mesmerizing, engaging metal album I've heard all year. One of the best. And as I said before, using their influences fantastically. But if you weren't thrilled with the last releases, and rightfully so, do not let their past releases steer you away from this excellent black metal, black gaze, post-rock album. Because if you do, you're missing out on this excellent record. And that's all I gotta say. Listen, let me know what you think, and we'll leave it at that. I'm feeling a 4 out of 5 Black Hearts on this album. I am Caspa. That was my opinion. I am your plug. Do me a favor, hit me with that sub. Keep the channel alive. Please subscribe. And that's it. Caspa, got the ghost, Deafheaven, lonely people with power. Till we meet again.